Okay, Camp Heebie Jeebies is held in Sea Lake, Montana. It's about 50 miles east and north of Missoula, and it's a very small town and on a lake. And the camp itself is filled with huge old pine trees and rustic log cabins. 15 cabins at each house 8 people, and then there's a large rustic log lodge that we use for our rehearsals and for our evening programs. And it's about 2.5 miles from town, so the campers are fairly isolated from the rest of the activity in town, and so we feel pretty good about the location and opportunities for the students to really concentrate on their music. The purpose of Camp Heebie Jeebies is to give young people a chance to learn the basics of playing traditional jazz. Traditional jazz, being America's original art form, is something that we all want to try to preserve in any way that we can, and many of us feel that the way to do that is to introduce our young people to it as early as possible and teach them how to play it and how to enjoy it, and how to form small groups of their own so that they can play the music. And some of our students have gone on to do that. And it's also a way of teaching them how to improvise and move on to other styles of jazz too, because the traditional jazz is the chords are simple and the chord progressions are simple, and it's easy to teach the students those concepts, and then they can take that background and go ahead and move on to other styles of jazz and even rock and roll if they choose. A typical student that attends the camp is a student who's probably been recommended by a band director, and they probably already play in some jazz band at some school somewhere, but chances are they've never played traditional jazz, but they've expressed a desire, and most of all they would probably like to learn how to play without music. And of course we teach that at the camp, teach the concepts of it. It's not that a student can learn to do it proficiently in 1 week, but at least they learn what they need to do to progress to that point. All the students that come to the camp are auditioned and placed in a small group of a Dixieland type format with 3 horns in the front line and a rhythm section. Sometimes, depending on the number of students that we have, we double up on the instrumentation. So that makes up one class, the small group rehearsals. Then all of the students are also placed in a larger group which would play big band music, because we think this is also an important style that we want to give the students a chance to play, and a lot of them have been familiar with big band music, so that's an easy transition for them. Then in addition to that, we have them all go into a theory class based on their ability and previous experience, and then we teach improvisation, a special class in improvisation, and then we also want the students to meet in their sectionals, all the clarinets, all the trumpets, all the trombones, with the teacher who is an expert in that area, so that they can learn and improve upon their techniques and maybe learn some new ways of playing their instrument more efficiently and getting better tone. And that's our instructors at the camp. We have one from each instrument in a traditional jazz band. So we have a reed instructor, a trumpet instructor, trombone instructor, bass, piano, drums, and banjo. Our camp differs a little from the other traditional jazz camps that I am familiar with, in that we do offer structured classes. At 8:30 the students all go to theory class, and at 9:30 they're all going to improvisation class. And it's kind of like a music school that takes place in 1 week's time. Some of the other camps that I am familiar with are a little bit more unstructured, and for instance they might have a student just in a band, and then the band rehearses most of the day and they don't have specific classes. And so I guess that would be the biggest difference, that our students receive structured classes and instruction from teachers who are well experienced in their area. Most of our day is taken up with band rehearsals and classes. However, we do have about two hours in the afternoon where there's free time when we do have water recreation, and we do canoe races, and we have volleyball and horseshoe and softball throwing, and we encourage the students to work off some of their energy doing those kinds of things, and we do schedule some competitions and volleyball tournaments and so on, and swimming, and so that the kids can get to do something beside the music. At night we have a performance, which is students are asked to attend each night at 8 o'clock, a performance. At the beginning of the week we feature the instructors in the instructor band. As we get closer to the end of the week, we start to incorporate the students one by one as they feel comfortable, and at the very last night of the camp we feature all the student groups, and it turns out to be about a 2.5-hour concert, which is very entertaining, and the kids are all very supportive of each other. And then after the evening shows, we have a campfire every night that the kids sit around and sing songs and just visit and roast marshmallows and that sort of thing. We have 2 cooks that come out to the camp from the Great Falls area, and they're both very experienced in cooking for camps, having cooked for church camps for the last 15 years. And we try to make all of our food from scratch. We don't go to Costco and take the shortcut methods. Everything is made right from scratch and baked and prepared right on the premises. And we do have a full commercial kitchen there at the camp, and commercial dishwasher, and everything is all very convenient. And the students help us with the cleanup after each meal, and the food has been excellent. The students have loved it, and we feel very fortunate that we have such good cooks to help.
Anyway, most of these kids come from the high school things where everything is written out for them. I'm just speaking of my own class. I really don't know what the other classes are doing. I know Bert is giving them songs that they've never heard before and won't hear it in school and won't hear unless they come back to this camp again, a whole mess of those songs. And he did a similar thing last year in that he brought in some big band charts from the 30s and 40s, whereas most of these kids are getting charts that have been written in the 80s and 90s, which are entirely different. So I would say one of the big values is that they run into music that they've never heard before and that they won't get in school. We'll concentrate on the Saints and Alexanders this afternoon. Let's just go through them once each this morning, then we'll go on to some blues.
Be lucky.
All right, take your Saints away. With my own classes, like we were talking about the Saints, the kids were writing it out, and I told them no music, which is really the only way for me to, in my view, to learn to play jazz. Otherwise, you're just reading notes. Socially, I think there's a better intermingling of meeting the kids from different statuses of life and getting to know one another a little bit better. It is very tough. It's very tough because you really only have about 5 days to do it, and it's a rough chore.
I'm Nate Middleton from Valier, Montana. I'm 12 years old. I'm going to turn 13 in exactly 3 weeks from today. I've learned a lot. It's a lot of fun. This is my first year here, and learned a few new songs. He's really been encouraging me to keep playing the trombone. The food is pretty good. I'm the youngest here, and I think the oldest is about like 18 or so.
Oh, George, he doesn't use music, and he gets kids to play without music. George has been given I don't know if you call it a class or just a jam session. We'd go on before lunch and he'd just get his piano player and a drummer to start playing a song, and he'd play, and then he'd just point to somebody and they had to play whether they knew the song or not, and he never told us what key or what song it was. So he teaches very unique ways, and he's a really nice guy, pretty funny, and we're glad to have George around here.
I'm from Olympia, Washington. When I came here, I could not improv. I could only play sheet music, and I learned how to improv correctly and play chords. I had a lot of fun here. I met a lot of new people, met a lot of new talents. I learned from people that I haven't been able to learn from before, because where I'm from, I'm the best.
Well, I'm from Washington, and I was here last year. Last year, for me, it was the biggest jump I ever took. Because I had never attended a Dixieland camp or any jazz camp before that. Between last year and this year, I've been playing a lot of Dixie gigs because of this camp, so I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, they put on different athletic things too. They have canoe races and a volleyball game, and I was on the canoe races, and I was in the winning team. There was 12 people on a team, and we split into groups of 3 in our team, 3 to a boat, and we had to race from the docks down to the beaver house and back, and you could see who's been canoeing and who hasn't before, because there was a lot of back and forth across the river. Changing canoes, that was quite an experience. I almost thought the boat was going to get tipped 2 or 3 times doing that, because we didn't even pull it up on shore. We changed out in the water waist deep, and people were getting soaking wet and everything. It was pretty fun.
Ooh.
I'm gonna remember 2 things: the counselors and the shows that they had here, because I've learned mostly all the stuff that I've learned from the shows and how to improv and stuff like that, and just watching them, it's really neat.
I've learned so much. I learned more in the past week than I have in a year and a half.
I'm from Oregon, and this is the 2nd year I've been to Camp Heebie Jeebies, and I believe it's a really good camp. They have very good instructors, and they run their program very well and give the students lots of opportunities to play, whether it be during the evening concerts or like at the ice cream parlor or downtown Missoula at their picnic. And it's real good to get the students out playing with the people, and gives them a chance to be on a bandstand where it's just, Dixieland style, having to do everything Dixie way instead of big band or something like that, where they have a bunch of people. They get them in small groups and they have to fill their parts, and just teaches them another kind of music, and I think it's very educational.